Welcome to the Lechtich Parsha podcast, where we delve into the Torah's timeless wisdom and uncover uplifting and empowering lessons tailored to the challenges of our generation.
Good to have Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a wonderful week. This week's Shir is sponsored by the Streicher family, Le'ulu Nishmas, Simcha Yosef, ben Moshe Zev Halevi. May his neshama have an aliyah. May it be a Zaltz for the entire mishpacha. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Haas and Zaltz law firm, Bluestone Brokerage, and Meridian Senior Health. For future dedications of the Shir, please reach out to 845-367-2959. Today, I had an encounter with a friend of mine in Kyle that really brings out the message, the point that I want to share, that I want to discuss this week. So thankfully, I only have a chance to record the Shir now, Thursday night. Probably the Hashgacha Pratis is that we can learn from literally anything in life. Nothing is trivial, nothing is haphazard, including this story that happened just a few hours ago. The life of a Kol younger man, an Avrech, depending on where you live, we call different things. But either way, a married man who is learning can be hectic. Things come up, personal, family, all different sorts of things. And as chashiv, as starmar, but some things are pressing and we have to take care of them. And that happened to a very close friend of mine who walked in very, very late today. Seder usually starts around 10 o'clock in Beis Medrash Kavai of Lakewood, BMG. And this friend of mine walked in late. And he was all upset, sad, had a gloomy look on his face. And he came over to me and he's like, Don, it's already so late. Guys are literally on their way out already. What's a few minutes? I'm going to sit down now, look for a stender, start making everyone move around. Anyone who's been to BMG knows, Baruch Hashem, the scene is awesome. The amount of stenders, chairs, Bachrim, Younger Light learning is unfathomable. It's incredible. The Kol Torah is the most joyous sound on planet Earth, unparalleled. So this guy came, and the feeling of being late to anything, it's just like, why am I going to get involved? For who? For what? And he's like, I'm really going to do it. And I looked at him and I said, my dear friend, I said, let me share something I've been working on this week to publish, to write about, to speak about, and maybe that will help you. And I told him as follows. In this week's Parsha, we learn about the struggle with Yaakov Avinu and the Malach, the Sarah Shel Esav. The Sarah Shel Esav thought he would take down Yaakov, but astoundingly, Yaakov overcame, and he took down the Malach of Esav. And the Pasuk tells us that Yaakov's name was changed from Yaakov to Yisrael. Why? The Pasuk tells us, Vayomer lo Yaakov v'yomer oid, ki im Yisrael. Your name is not going to be Yaakov anymore, rather it's going to be Yisrael. Ki sarisa im Elokim v'im anoshim v'tuchal. Because you fought with people, referring to the angel of Esav, v'tuchal, and you overcame. You have striven with the angel, you have struggled, and you overcame. The question many Sfarim discuss is if Yaakov ultimately overcame the struggle, he triumphed, he claimed victory over the Malach, which is the meaning of the word Vatuchal, Lashon of Yachal, then why was Yaakov's name changed to Yisrael, which represents the fight, the struggle, as opposed to Vatuchal, which means he overcame, he was victorious? Seemingly, that would be a much more befitting and honorable name, representing the victory, the pride, the joy of winning over, knocking out the Malach Shal Esav. Nevertheless, he was given the name Yisrael, which is Kisarisa, because he fought with the Malach. So what's the pshat? Why was he called Yisrael? So the answer many Sfarim give is, although the sweetness of success is unparalleled, nevertheless, for a Yid, as we know, it's all about the fight. It's about the struggle. And we can't discount that. We can't undervalue the chashivas of the fight itself, of the struggle. And even if the results aren't success, we have to realize how much value, how much chashivas Hashem allocates towards the fight, towards the struggle itself. And as we know, the pasuk in Mishlei says, Kisheva yipol tzaddik v'kam, a tzaddik will fall 7 times and he'll get up. And the Vilna Gaon says that the falling is not accidental. It's not incidental. It's not something that's just okay that we're going to overlook or turn the blind eye. Rather, it is integral. It is crucial and vital for the steiging, for the aliyah, for the growth of any yid. And without those nefilas, without the setbacks and the resistance and the failures, we cannot grow and ascend to tzidkus, to righteousness, to shlemus. Therefore, the Sfarim write, the reason why Yaakov, his name was changed to Yisrael, as opposed to Vatuchal, is because Yisrael reminds us that it's all about the fight. It's about the perpetual struggle, the perpetual battle that we continue to fight. Yaakov Avinu was the first one to fight with the Sarah Shal Esav, with the Satan, with Samuel, but we continue. It's a collective battle that we're fighting as Yechidim, as individuals, and as a klal, as a kehillah, as Knesset Yisrael, as we see unfortunately physically, as we hear, as we witness, as we see the atrocities going on in Eretz Yisrael. And at the same time, we're all struggling and facing the Satan multiple, if not many times a day, on personal levels, on personal nisyonos and struggles. And what we glean from the episode of Yaakov Avinu and the Sarah Shal Esav is that as much as victory, there's no greater feeling than to claim that, to knock out our enemies, our foes, physical and spiritual ones. But nevertheless, we can't discredit or undervalue the struggle itself, even in the face of failure. This isn't just a nice, sweet idea that might be true, that might not be true, that this farm just talk about. The Alshich tells us, turning to the story of Shavuos, there were two brothers, Machlin and Kilyon, and it was prohibited for them to marry Goyim. Yet, they both did. And for some reason, we find the discrepancy with their future generations. We find that Machlin, the older brother, was Zeiche to have David Melech as a part of his offspring. And from there, subsequently, there will be a Mashiach. As opposed to Kilyon, the younger brother, there's nothing. No generation, there's no Yibum, levirate marriage done to continue his name, and he just faded out. Now the obvious question is, if they both transgressed the identical transgression, they both ended up marrying Goyim, why is it that greatness came and will come from Machlon, as opposed to Kilyon, who simply dissipated, completely faded out? Answers the Al-Shech HaKadosh. The pshat is, Machlon was older and he got married second. Kilyon was younger and he got married first. They both had the same desire, they both had the same taiva to marry their Goyish wives. But the difference is that Machlon suppressed, pushed off his desire longer than Kilyon did. Kilyon was younger and he just jumped in, he got married first. As opposed to Machlon, who got married second, he pushed it off. They were ready at the same time, but Machlon said, I'm going to push it off. Zakta Al-Shech, even though he ultimately failed, he was still Zeiche to Gadlus, because he tried, because he struggled. Even though he ended up marrying a guy, he was Zeiche to David Melech. And he will be Zeiche to Mashiach. Mashiach will be a descendant of Machlon, who ended up marrying a guy, but the reason that Machlon merited this is because he pushed off and suppressed his desire. Even though he ultimately failed, nevertheless, just for the effort itself, in putting up with the struggle, in fighting the battle, he was zeiche to unfathomable gadlus. The Vilna Gaon, in Igaras Agra, writes, Kol rega v'rega she'adam chaysim piv, a person who has a geschmack, a juicy piece of Lashon Hara, and he's exploding, but he puts a muzzle on his mouth. Chaysim piv, zeiche b'shvilo le'or haganaz, she'ein malach u'berya yecholim l'shar. Every moment that a person refrains from speaking Lashon Hara, he merits access to the concealed light that neither angel nor creature can fathom. Zok the Streicher Gaon, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, the Gaon didn't write what happened at the end. He just wrote, Al kol rega v'rega she'adam chaysim piv. He didn't write the end result. He didn't write if he was successful or not. He just wrote for every moment that a person tries his best. Says the Streicher, that's the truth. Even if the person fails, he ends up saying the Lashon Hara, he's still zeiche to the Ar Haganas. We could think this is a joke or it's made up. But when you have the Streicher and you have the Vilna Gaon, and you have an Alshich, these are undisputable. This is Kihem Chayenu, this is Dvar Hashem Mamish, and this is a source of chizik for us, for chaverim, for families, for life. And based on this, I told my friend, I said, you may have came late, but if you go and you sit down and you don't give in to the Yetzer Hara and you tell him, I'm going to be better. You already did so much. You came. You opened the door to the Beis Medrash. Just go sit down. And whatever's going to happen, that's not your cheshbon. That's irrelevant. But just do it. Put in those extra minutes. Put in the extra time, the extra effort for Hashem. The Aragonas is waiting. And even if you fail, you go and you sit down. After all the tumulting, moving all the stenders and bothering people and people getting all famished, it's okay. Hashem wants to see effort. When we remember and remain cognizant of this, to remember who we are, stay strong and committed to our value, to our essence, that we're Am Yisrael. Yisrael is the name that Yaakov was given after the fight. Yisrael is a conjunction of Yashar, Kel. We're a nation of Yashrus, fighting for God. When we keep this in mind, when we fight and approach the Satan and any war, any struggle, any challenge with this mindset, may we be zeiche to overcome, and even if we don't, to remember that the value of the fight is success within itself, and that'll help us. That'll be a springboard, a stepping stone to godless, to shlemus, to tzidkus. May we all become the best we can, the greatest yidden that we can. Give nachas ruach liyitzreinu, and may that be a catalyst for Hashem in turn to return us to long-awaited Eretz Yisrael, the land of Yisrael, with the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash and the unification as a nation and the greeting of Melech HaMashiach Tzidkenu b'meher v'meinu. Amen. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish all of you a wonderful Shabbos. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos.